What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. For those of you who don't know, my name is Chris Moore, and in today's video we got a brand hammer new Yamaha Tracer GT. Wait a minute, Tracer 9 GT. This is a brand new bike that just came out. This is my first time actually even seeing one of these things. It is 100% bone stock. In other words, it only has 600 miles on it. Not one thing has been done to it yet. We're gonna put it on the dyno. The break-in period has already been done. The oil has already been changed. We're about to put it on the dyno, see what kind of horsepower it makes in bone stock configuration. Then we're gonna install a Akropovic full exhaust system. Now this factory exhaust system is quite possibly the stupidest looking exhaust I've ever seen in my life. You can see it's just a big blob of pipe, and right here is where the exhaust comes out at. So it like kind of shines down right at the ground. When I first walked out and took a look at the bike, I'm like, okay, cool, we're putting the exhaust on it. Where does the exhaust come out at? And I'm looking around, I'm like, holy shit, this thing is crazy. But anyways, exhaust is down there on the very, very bottom. We are gonna remove that and see what kind of power we can get out of this thing. Also, what kind of sound. Let's fire it up so you can hear it now. Pretty quiet, as you can imagine, just like all other stock bikes. Now, as you can see from the exhaust headers, this thing is a 3-cylinder. So it's gonna sound really unique and really different once we get the exhaust on there. Anyways, enough talking, let's get to work, put this thing on the dyno. Okay, the bike is all loaded up on the dyno. We've got it warmed up. We're about to do the baseline pull and see what kind of power we can get out of this bike. I'm really curious to see how this thing does. It is super, super quiet. I'm really curious to see what this Akropovic exhaust does for the sound and for the power. Set you guys up right here. Now, we will not be getting an air fuel reading on this pull because the bike, the way the exhaust is made, I literally can't get my O2 sensor over into that exhaust system. So we're just gonna be, it is what it is on this, but we're gonna see what kind of power we can get out once we fine tune the air fuel ratio with the new exhaust installed. Pull is done on this Tracer 9 GT. We ended up with 105 horsepower. Now we did 2 pulls with it. We did a 5th gear pull, which is what we always dyno them in, and then we did a 6th gear pull to see what the actual top speed of the bike was. Okay, so if we put this in wheel speed instead of engine speed, we can see here that we have a theoretical top speed of about 150 miles per hour. Okay, now when I say theoretical top speed, there's no wind, there's no drag, there's no nothing. This is just how fast can the wheel turn on the drum, okay? In other words, this is what the bike is limited to with no other real life factors. So if you weigh 300 pounds and you're built like a parachute, your bike probably ain't gonna go 150 miles per hour with you on it. If you're going downhill and you only weigh 100 pounds, you might go, well, you're actually gonna only go 150 miles per hour because you got no limitations, just like this bike does. So anyways, this is just a relative thing. Let's put it back in engine RPM, and this is more real life. I just wanted to point that out with the top speed. We're gonna see what the top speed is increased to. Now, let's look at this thing and we can see where it makes 105, almost 106 horsepower at 10,000 RPMs. And then the horsepower nosedives back off. We lose about 6 horsepower. We're back to about 99 and 100 there at 10.3. So it falls off really, really quick. Let's talk about why that happens. So if we go into our MT09 Tracer GT bin file in the ECU, this is what the stock ECU looks like inside. So if we go to first gear, this is on our ETV, that stands for electronic throttle valve, okay? Here is 100% throttle. Here is the engine RPMs. Now this 100% throttle, this is when you twist the gas like that. You go wide open, it goes to this table, and then it scrolls down as the engine RPMs go up. Take a look at this, guys, at, let's just say, 5,500 RPMs. You're only getting 46% throttle, even though you're wide open. So you're got the hammer down, but you're only getting half horsepower at 5,500 RPM. So meaning this thing has huge, huge restrictions, especially in first gear. The highest it ever goes is 85%. And at 10,100 RPMs, it is declining back to 79 and 78% throttle in the high RPMs. So essentially your bike has a governor on it. You bought a brand new 900cc bike, but you're not even getting full power. So we dynoed it in 5th gear. Let's go to our 5th gear tables. You can see here it's slow to open once again. It does go 100% throttle at 7,000 RPMs, and it stays 100% throttle to 10,000, which is pretty much what our dyno graph showed us. But you can see here it falls back to 81% throttle. So we got a big decline. Now, we're at 81% throttle in our first gear. We were getting a total of 85 horsepower. So technically, theoretically speaking, in our 5th gear, we're limited. So this is 80% throttle. The other one was 80% throttle. Technically, we're limited to about 100 horsepower in first gear. So it's got a pretty good cap on it. That's the most you can get out of first gear. 6th gear, pretty much the same restriction, 81% throttle. So we're gonna uncap all that stuff, get all the limiters off, and see what kind of power this thing will make once we unrestrict it. And of course, we're putting the exhaust system on, so we should get some pretty nice gains here. Let's see what happens. And just like that, the factory exhaust system is off. We've got it right here. This thing is pretty heavy. You can see it actually has 2 outlets for the muffler. I didn't even realize that when it was on the bike. But anyway, this exhaust, super heavy, would be used as a good boat anchor now. The factory headers, or the aftermarket headers, much, much lighter because of course we're getting rid of that heavy catalytic converter. I think this is gonna be a really nice upgrade as far as horsepower goes and as far as visual appearance. We'll have this thing on here in no time. Just like that, the exhaust system is on this MT09 Tracer GT. Now you can see we're missing a bunch of the fairings here. We had to remove that stuff so we could gain access to the ECU. The ECU on this bike is under the fuel tank on top of the gearbox. So if you're gonna do an air filter on this thing, you better do an ECU flash at the same time, boys, because it's a good bit of work to get to it. But anyways, let's fire this thing up. Now that we have a normal looking exhaust system on this thing, let's see how it sounds. Now I have already warmed the engine up. That was not a cold start, but man, this thing sounds 1,000,000 times better. Not crazy but definitely has a nice sound to it. How do you like the unique sound of the 3-cylinder? Comment in the comments below and let me know. As of right now, I'm gonna get this thing loaded up on the dyno so we can do the baseline pulls with the exhaust system to see what kind of gains just the exhaust system gave us. Here we go, boys. We got it all strapped up. We got the exhaust system installed. The engine's all warmed up. We should be ready to do our baseline pull with the exhaust system. Comment in the comments below, how much do you guess the bike is gonna gain from just bolting on the exhaust system? I'm curious to know. I'm gonna say 4 horsepower. 4 horsepower, that's it, let's see. But boom, there's your 4 horsepower, boys. And I promise I didn't cheat, I swear. Anyways, I could tell that the thing wasn't incredibly far off whenever I was warming the bike up as far as the air fuel ratio. You can see it's lean, cruising around and wide open, but I could tell it wasn't horrible. So that told me right there it wasn't gonna gain tons and tons of power by putting this exhaust system on there. Now, how much are we gonna get once we unrestrict it? Well, that's what we're about to find out now. Take a look at some of the things we can do in this ECU. First thing we're gonna do, disable the top speed limiter. We're gonna get rid of that, so now there's nothing holding the bike back from top speed. Disable the closed loop system. So these things have O2 sensors on them from the factory. The O2 sensors tell the bike to run super lean all the time. We don't want that. We want it to run off of our tune. So we're gonna disable that, and then we're also gonna disable the decel fuel cut. That way when you let off the throttle, the bike doesn't nosedive. In other words, the engine braking will be reduced, and we'll make this thing much, much smoother in the on-off throttle transition. And then we're gonna lower the fan temps down. Let's go in here and see what kind of restrictions we've got. You can see here, this is the ETV table. That stands for electronic throttle valve. And then we, of course, have different gears. So if we put the bike in first gear, you can see that this is our throttle position value opening. So in other words, whenever you twist the throttle, go 100%, that goes to this side. And then when we go over here, this is our RPM table. So when we go 100% throttle in first gear at 6,500 RPMs, you're getting 63% throttle. Yeah, that's right, guys. You bought a 900cc bike. When you get in first gear and you hold it wide open, you got a 900cc bike. Only 63%, it goes up to 85, and then at 10,100 RPMs, the throttle plates start closing, it goes back to 79%. Then here in 5th gear, you can see the thing is delayed opening. I'm pretty sure we already talked about this. I can't remember. I've already done another video in between now and then while Dazzling Drew was installing the exhaust. Blah, 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 blah. Long story short, I gotta get this thing fixed up. I'll be right back with some more horsepower. ECU is flashed. Air fuel ratio is almost dialed in perfectly. One thing that I will mention is that this thing gets a little bit of popping and gurgling on decel. Not much, but it does have a little bit of backfire to it. That is because we have the decel fuel cut option turned on. So when we let off the gas, a little bit of fuel continues to spray into the throttle body, keeping the, I guess you say, bike from going lean and nosediving. Well, that unburnt fuel will get a little popping every once in a while. It's not bad, but if you wanted to fully delete it, you can look into doing a set of AIS block off plates, or Google and search the marble mod. You can also fix that super easy. To me, it sounds good. It's not annoying, it's not a lot on this bike. Let me know what you think. and dyno tune is finished. We ended up with some good numbers. Before I get into the numbers though, I'm gonna show you right here is the ECU. It is under the gas tank as far as where it is located. This is not the ECU, so if you take your bike apart, do not think that's the ECU. That is the electronic suspension brain. This, like I said, on the other hand, is the ECU. It is mounted under the gas tank, about right in there. So you do have to lift the tank up to get your ECU out to send it in to get it flashed. Another thing you'll have to do, anytime you work on this bike and you unplug anything, it senses like a system break and it throws check engine light. The check engine light will not go away on its own. You do have to clear it out. That's a simple procedure. Right here is a little plug on the bike. You just pop that cap off, plug in our little trusty gizmo we have here. We sell these on our website, moremafia.com, and then you can clear out the code by yourself. Super simple. That is a must after the ECU is flashed or anything is done on this bike, basically. So pick yourself up a code reader. It's only $30 for the code reader and only $30 for the adapter. If you go to a dealer, they're gonna charge you at least 100 bucks to clear your code out. It takes them about 30 seconds. All right, let's get into the dyno numbers. We started out with 105 at the beginning of the day. We ended up with 112.22. Now, one thing I didn't like, we are not able to extend the rev limiter on this bike. This bike revs all the way to red line before in other words, the power, it makes peak power at red line. So if we could rev it a little higher, I think we could get a little benefits out of that. But in this ECU, it's not adjustable. You can see here, at 10,300 RPMs, we went from 99 horsepower to 110 horsepower. That's a 10 horsepower gain there just from the tuning. And overall, went from 105 to 112, and the power is throughout the whole entire thing. Not to mention we lost a good bit of weight, we gained a good bit of improvements aesthetically, and the thing sounds like a real motorcycle now. We're gonna get it put back together, get it buttoned up, get it outside so you can see a better look at it of how this thing looks. 100% finished, guys. Stay with us. Finally, it's been an all-day project, but the Tracer 9 GT is finally ready to go. I wanted to show you, I guess you would say, a glimpse of what it looks like, fully assembled and put back together. We had the exhaust system on earlier, but we had all the fairings off. The fairings are not too terribly hard to work on now that we know how to do it. Your first time in, it is a little tricky to take this thing apart. I'm sure there's a video somewhere that shows you how to remove all this stuff. We didn't get to go in depth and detail on showing you how to take it apart, but let me tell you, it is fun. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, be sure to click the bell, subscribe, smash the like button. You know the drill. Check us out, moremafia.com. If you have any questions, click on the ECU flashing page. There's a video that'll pop up on that page. That video has all the information on what you need to do to send your ECU in to get it done. All right, guys, smash the like button. We'll see you next time. Adios. Bye.